Hello everyone, it is week 8 of our CSA. It is a B week for those of you that are half shares. I am going to go over all of our produce that we received either today or that you're picking up on Thursday, how to store the items and possible uses and things that you can create using each of the different produce that we get. Some of it's repeat, so you'll hear a lot of it again, and we do have a couple of new items. One quick announcement, if you are picking up your shares, we go to the shed and we give our name and then we get a big crate of all the produce. Please make sure you're returning that crate. So go to your car, unload it, put it into your bags, your bins, your coolers, whatever you have in your car, but make sure you're returning that crate. Our farmers use them again, like for today, they use them again on Thursday and they use them next week. So we need to make sure we're returning them the day that we pick up. So don't go home with them at all. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into our produce for this week. We have kale. This is green curly kale. So how to store it, I like to take off the rubber band, throw it into a green bag. So I've been using these Debbie Meyer green bags. They've been working wonderfully. I actually didn't use my kale yet from last week, so I'm gonna use that kale and this kale to make kale chips this week because we're going away for the weekend. So this gets stored in the fridge unwashed. You can dehydrate it, you can, or make it into chips. You can eat it raw, you can cook it. We had a lot of recipes that have come up on the Facebook group where people are making kale chips, or there's kale salads. I know there's a really good kale Caesar salad that I did. I don't think it was last year. I want to say it was the year before that. So you can look that up on the blog. I like to either eat this raw in a salad, like massaged with oil and vinegar, or kale chips. That's my favorite. But we did a poll this week on the Facebook group, and our poll, so I asked if people preferred cooked or raw, and then, so we had 34 people that put cooked, 10 people that put raw, 4 that said chopped, frozen, and used in smoothies, and then we had 2 that said dehydrated into chips. So kind of a good variety, but most people prefer kale cooked, according to our group. So stay tuned for more polls. We'll throw some of those up every few weeks. Okay, so that's kale. We have head lettuce. So head lettuce, same thing. We want it unwashed in a green bag in the fridge. If you do wash it, then make sure you put the leaves between paper towels so that the moisture gets absorbed, and then you want to use that quickly. The unwashed will stay a little bit longer. These are great for salads. Obviously it's lettuce, but it works really well for burgers, for tacos. I like to use these as wraps or little like taco shells because they sit really nicely. So lots of ideas for that. We also got dandelion greens. So dandelion greens, I like to take off the rubber band, put them in a green bag, throw them in the fridge. These are more bitter. If you want to take some of that bitterness away, all you need to do is soak them in salt water for about 10 minutes, rinse them off, and then you can use them either raw or cooked. There is, pretty sure it was last year that I did a dandelion green recipe. I've seen a lot of dandelion green smoothie recipes as well. So you could make green cubes, you could blanch these, throw them into ice cube trays, freeze them, and then use them for smoothies. Dandelion greens have a lot of health benefits. So even if you don't like them, try to disguise them and eat them. Okay, we also have some more summer squash. So we have zucchini and yellow squash. These guys, I like to just rinse off and get the dirt off. If there's any dirt or mud or anything on them, I like to rinse them off, and they get stored in the fridge in the crisper drawer. You can actually put them also in a green bag and store them in the fridge. This week's recipe will showcase these guys along with the fresh garlic. So a full recipe for this week will require 2, and it doesn't matter. It can be a toss between the zucchini or the yellow squash. It doesn't matter. You can also half the recipe and just use 1. So stay tuned for that. That recipe will be posted Thursday morning or sometime on Thursday. Those can be grilled. We're seeing a lot of grilled zucchini. Just season with put some olive oil on it, season with salt and pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic powder or onion powder. Keep it really simple, and they're wonderful on the grill as a side. You can throw them into stir fries. You can grate them. If you grate them and freeze them, they're good for all of your like breads and muffins and things like that. You can use them. You just have to make sure you squeeze the moisture out after you defrost them. So if you want to preserve them, if you're not cooking with them right now or you're going away, that's a good way to preserve them. We're seeing some zucchini breads and zucchini muffins pop up on the Facebook group, so make sure you look at those recipes or those posts that people are putting up for more ideas. So we also have cucumbers, the yellow and the green cucumbers. These I just like to wash, get rid of any excess dirt that's on them, and then throw them in my crisper drawer. You can put them in a bag, a plastic bag, and store them that way as well, but they go in the refrigerator. These are great raw. You can pickle them. So we're seeing a lot of pickling recipes that come up on the Facebook group, or pickling pictures. These are good in a salad. Good, you can make, if you still have dill left, there's a dill dip on the blog that tastes really good with cucumbers. We generally eat them raw, kind of just sliced up. They don't even make it to a salad. Like, I just slice them up, put them in a bowl, and the boys devour them. I'm sure I'm missing other things that we can use them for. Celery. So we got a whole head of celery. I like to take off this rubber band. I just don't like, I like all of my vegetables to be free when I put them in the refrigerator. So I take off that rubber band, throw the entire thing in a plastic bag, and store it whole. Once you cut it and wash it, it's not gonna last as long. Last week's recipe showcased this whole head. So I made a celery soup using this, some of the onion, garlic. I think there was some dill in it. So if you didn't try that, there was a lot of people that tried it and said it was great. So make sure you refer back to that recipe. That's right on the blog. Otherwise, if you don't turn this into a soup, because it's really good for the soup because you use the entire thing, the leaves, the stalks, everything. If you don't turn this into a soup, then it's edible raw. Really good in like an egg salad, a chicken salad. I think there was a post about a Waldorf salad that had some fresh, farm fresh celery in it. So all good ideas. Okay, our fresh garlic. So this fresh garlic is not cured. So when it's not cured, it means we store it in the fridge. The entire thing is edible. So the stalk can be used like you would a leek. Just kind of clean off the outside, scrub it really good. The bottom inside are the bulbs, just like you would use regular garlic clove bulbs. And then these paper thin layers, those can also be used. They're flavorful, they're really good. So we turned them last week into, Trisha posted a recipe for, I wanna say it was a garlic spread we used it on bread. So I toasted up some bread and we used the garlic spread on that. So that uses the paper thin. If anything else, if you're not going to use it for anything, take those and throw them into your veggie bag, your veggie scrap bag in the freezer, because they'll help flavor your veggie broth. So that's our fresh garlic in the fridge for the whole thing. Once you use the outsides, the paper thin outsides of the garlic, then store the individual bulbs, individual cloves I guess the whole thing in the bowl, the individual cloves in a glass jar in their fridge until you use them. And I still have a few from last week. We have green beans. So we got to pick, I actually have a few yellows as well. So these got picked today. So we could pick a quart of them, nice and easy. The fields were really muddy, so make sure, I don't know what Thursday looks like, but I definitely brought boots with me because the fields were pretty muddy from all the rain last night. So just be prepared if you're going on Thursday, pay attention to the weather. I don't know if it's gonna clear out and not be muddy by then. These get stored in the fridge, unwashed. Once you wash them, I like to put a paper towel so that it absorbs the moisture. These can be eaten raw. They can be sauteed. They're really good sauteed with onion and garlic. They can be roasted, and they can actually be pickled. So all good ideas. And they can be thrown on a salad as well. So if you roast them or cook them, and then you can let them cool and throw them right on a salad. We have some more new potatoes. So remember, we've talked about this before, but our new potatoes are uncured. So because they're uncured, they don't have that thick skin on the outside. I never ever peel these. I just scrub them, make sure they're nice and clean, and use them as is with the skins on them. There's a lot of great recipes on the blog for potatoes. I know there's a potato and summer squash recipe that is delicious. There's also smashed potatoes on there with some sort of, I think it was like an herb dressing that I put over top. These are great for hash browns, home fries, just roasted potatoes. Next week's recipe is gonna focus on potatoes, so stay tuned for that. But otherwise, look on the blog for some different items and then, or different ideas for those. All right, a new item this week is our torpedo onions. So these are beautiful, look at the color. The entire thing is edible. So our tops are kind of like a big scallion, I guess. Clean them really good, make sure they're nice and clean, and then you can chop them up. You can eat them raw on salad. They are great raw, great cooked, grilled, roasted. You can pickle them. So I believe at some point I did do a quick pickled onion recipe on the blog. So you can look for that. But the entire thing is edible. So if you do cut off the top, make sure you store the tops. You can use them. And if anything else, if you're not going to use them, throw them in your veggie bags, your veggie scrap bags in the freezer. These get stored in the fridge in a bag because they're uncured. So anything uncured or new, we're putting in the fridge because it doesn't have that long-lasting cured sealing, I guess you could say. So two more items. We have our purple purple cabbage. This can get stored just like this. So throw it just like this in the fridge. As soon as you chop it and start using it, so it's a pretty large head of cabbage, you can make coleslaw, you can make sauerkraut, you can slice it into steaks and grill it. You can roast it. Those are kind of you can throw it into a salad. I like to shred it really thin and throw it, especially because it's purple. It adds a lot to the salad. Once you start to use some of it, that's when you want to put it into a plastic bag, and then whatever you've cut, you want to make a clean cut, put that into your compost, and then start fresh. So that's our cabbage. And then last but not least is our eggplant. These are smaller than the eggplant we got last week. There are two different colors. So these are Asian eggplant. The color doesn't matter, it doesn't affect taste. So these, I like to peel and I like to slice long ways. You can still do rounds, so we've been seeing a lot of eggplant parm. Eggplant parm is one of my favorite things. I like to create bread my eggplant and then freeze it and then pull it out for whenever I want to throw together an eggplant parm. So these you can slice into rounds, they'll just be smaller. But I just tried for the first time, thanks to this Facebook group, my air fryer for the eggplant, and they came out wonderful. If you have an air fryer, I highly recommend. I just egg washed them, peeled them, sliced them, egg washed, put them in, I used a gluten-free breadcrumb mix, and then air fried them on 380 for 10 minutes, flipping halfway through, and they were delicious. Okay, so these get stored in the fridge as well. We don't want them to get moist because they'll get mushy, so you want to wrap them, you don't want to wrap them in plastic, you want to wrap them in a towel to keep the moisture away from them, so that the towel absorbs the moisture and these guys don't. There's also a recipe on the blog for an avocado toast that I made, and this was the actual toast, I think. Last year I did something with these where these were like a grilled eggplant with avocado on the top. So that's a different way to use it as well. These are really good in stir fries, and there's an eggplant dip, I believe, on the blog as well. So lots of good ideas. I know there's some people that don't love eggplant. Please try it in a variety of different ways before you give up. It's not my favorite vegetable, but there's certain ways I know I love it. And eggplant parm happens to be one of them. So that is it for tonight. If you haven't received, or if you haven't gotten your grain bags, I've been using them all season long, and they are really helping my produce last longer. Continue to share what you're doing with your produce. We love seeing pictures. We love hearing what you're doing, what you're creating with the different produce we receive from the farmers each week. So continue to do that, and I will see you, well, I won't see you next week. I'm away next week. So I will there'll be some sort of live, but we don't know what it's gonna look like yet. But I will see you in 2 weeks, same time. All right, thanks, bye.